I never thought I'd find myself writing something like this, but here I am. It all started a couple of weeks ago, and honestly, I still can't believe it's real. My wife Jessica and I have been together for over 5 years. We got engaged last year, and just a few months ago we were planning our wedding. Everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we had some kind of trust, some foundation that nothing could shake. Or so I thought. From the outside, Jessica looked like the picture-perfect woman. She was smart, beautiful, a little bitchy sometimes, but I always loved her. She was the type to throw a tantrum if she didn't get her way, but then turn around and act like it was my fault. That's just who she was. Still, I never suspected she was capable of betraying me like this. Not until I started noticing little things. First, her phone started ringing at weird hours. She'd disappear into the bathroom or the bedroom and stay there for a long time. I'd hear her giggling on the phone, and she'd quickly hide it when I entered the room. She told me she was talking to her sister or a friend, but the tone was different, more playful, private. I didn't think much of it at first. I was busy with work, planning the wedding, trying to keep everything together. I just brushed it off as her being anxious or excited. Then came the messages. I'd see her glance at her phone more often, and sometimes she'd get these strange notifications. Nothing explicit, but enough to make me suspicious. One night I saw her typing a reply and quickly deleting it when she noticed I was watching. My gut told me to dig deeper. I started paying more attention, watching her schedule, her movements, her mood swings. What really broke the dam was when I found her perfume in the car, which I knew she didn't normally wear. I asked her about it and she brushed it off, claiming she was trying something new. But I knew better. I started to notice her behavior becoming more distant, more defensive. She'd snap at me over small things, accuse me of not trusting her, and I never knew why. I thought maybe I was overthinking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One day I decided to check her emails. I know it sounds invasive, but I was desperate for the truth. And what I found was worse than I could have imagined. There were messages from Mark, her boss. His name always sent a shiver down my spine. They had been exchanging flirtatious emails, talking about work, but some messages crossed the line. There were mentions of meeting after hours, secret plans, supposed discussions that made my stomach turn. I saw pictures, texts with photos of her in her office, looking at her phone with that suggestive smile. The worst part, the way she lied about everything, denying everything when I confronted her. She looked me straight in the eyes, all fake innocence, and told me I was paranoid. That Mark was just a friend, that I was reading too much into it. But the emails, the texts, the photos, they told a different story. I was crushed. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those nights I spent trusting her, believing she loved me, and she was out there sleeping with her boss. It felt like my whole world was crashing down around me. I could feel my heart pounding. My fists clenched. I was furious, but I also felt a deep, sick sadness. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this, right before what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life? It's like everything I believed in, everything I thought we had, was just a lie. That's when I knew I had to confront her face to face. Whatever was coming next, I couldn't pretend I didn't know anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My mind was racing, flipping through all those messages, the betrayal, the lies. I kept asking myself if I ever truly knew her. Jessica always played the victim card, acted like she was the one putting up with my flaws, but now I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, selfish woman who had been sneaking around behind my back. The worst part, she's always been bitchy, sarcastic, and quick to lie her way out of anything. I should have seen it coming, but I was blind. Or maybe I just didn't want to see. The next morning, I decided I couldn't stay quiet. I had front her. She was still sleeping when I woke up, a fake smile already plastered on her face. I sat on the edge of the bed, took a deep breath, and then called her out. "Jessica, I know what you've been doing. Don't even try to deny it." My voice was trembling, but I kept my eyes locked on hers. "You've been sleeping with Mark, haven't you?" She sat up abruptly, her eyes wide with fake innocence, like she couldn't believe I'd accuse her of such a thing. "What are you talking about? You're overreacting. You're just paranoid because you saw some emails. Mark is just a boss, it's nothing." "Nothing, nothing. Are you kidding me? Those messages say otherwise. You've been lying from the start, haven't you?" I was furious now. Every word I spat out was like a shot to her ego, but I didn't care. I wanted the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Her face twisted into that same bitchy smirk that I'd come to hate. Look, I don't owe you an explanation. I've been stressed with everything. Wedding planning, work, you name it. Mark, been there for me, that's all. You're just jealous because I don't need you to make me happy. I don't owe you anything. That line hit me hard. Jealous. She was accusing me of being insecure, but it was her who was out there cheating, lying, hiding this whole time. I felt my fists clench again. Stop lying, Jessica. I saw the emails, I saw the pictures. You've been sleeping with Mark. How could you do this to me right before our wedding? She rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, please. You're blowing this out of proportion. Mark is just a guy at work. We just talk about stuff, maybe go out for drinks sometimes. It's not a big deal. You're making it sound like some scandal. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she lie so easily, so blatantly? It was like talking to a wall. The anger boiled over in me, but beneath that there was a deep sense of sadness. I had invested so much in this woman, and now I realized she was nothing more than a manipulative, cheaty bitch. I never thought I'd be in this position, calling out someone I loved and trusted, but I had no choice. The confrontation didn't end there. She continued to deny everything, accusing me of being insecure, jealous, and paranoid. She said I was overreacting, that Mark was just a work friend, and I was crazy for suspecting her. The more she lied, the more my stomach turned. I could see her playing her games, trying to turn it around and make me look like the bad guy. But I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to let her keep spinning her lies. That morning my world cracked open. How did I miss all the signs? How did I not see it coming? Was I that blind, or was she just that good at hiding it? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I stayed silent. Inside, I was already planning what to do next. This wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was about reclaiming some sense of dignity. Because after everything, I realized I'd been living a lie. And now, I had to decide whether I was going to let her keep lying, or finally take control of what was left of my life. That day I couldn't focus on anything else. My mind kept circling back to the emails, the photos, her smug face when she was lying, how she could be so dismissive of everything I felt. I felt like I'd been punched repeatedly, and every punch was a reminder that my whole life might have been a lie. I wondered how many times she had lied to me before, how long she'd been sneaking around. Was it just the past few weeks, or had it been months? I couldn't get the thought out of my head that she had been playing me all along. I knew I couldn't stay in the same house, not after that confrontation. I needed space to breathe, to think. I packed a bag, told her I was leaving for a few days, and headed to my brother's place. It wasn't just about giving myself space. It was about getting away from the toxicity of her lies. I didn't want to see her face, not yet. I needed to understand what I was feeling. Anger, heartbreak, confusion. They all mixed together in a mess I'd never experienced before. While I was gone, I kept replaying everything in my head, her sneering, her excuses, her blatant lies. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. I kept thinking about what she said, that Mark was just a work friend, that she was stressed, that I was insecure. It all sounded so hollow now. She lied so easily, so convincingly. That bitch was good at hiding her true self. Later that night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Mark. I almost didn't want to open it, but curiosity got the better of me. I hesitated, then clicked on the message. It was a simple text. You don't know what you're talking about. Jessica's lying just like you are. If you try to ruin everything, she's going to tell everyone you're the one who's insecure, the one who can't handle a little sex. I stared at it, my stomach twisting. That was a clear threat. Mark was telling me to shut up, that if I exposed her, she'd make sure everyone knew I was the crazy, jealous husband. That's when I realized this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about the fact that she was willing to destroy me to protect her lies, her new affair, her career, everything. I felt a mixture of rage and helplessness. I wanted to confront her again, to make her admit everything, but I knew that wouldn't work. She was too good at covering her tracks, and now Mark was involved. I started to see that this wasn't just a simple betrayal. It was a web of lies, deception, and manipulation. And somehow I was caught right in the middle of it, clueless until now. The next day I decided I needed proof, real proof, before I made any decisions. I went back to her apartment to grab some clothes, but I also wanted to see if I could find anything else. I looked around the house, digging through her things, trying to find some sort of smoking gun. That's when I found a receipt from a hotel hidden in her purse. It was from the night she told me she was working late. The date matched the time she claimed she was at her boss's office. My heart sank. I was numb. That was the moment I realized how deep her lies went. She had been sneaking around, probably sleeping, with Mark, and covering her tracks with all these lies. I finally saw the extent of her betrayal. All the pieces fell into place. She had been lying to me for weeks, maybe longer. I felt like I was in some bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I didn't tell her I found the hotel receipt right away. I just packed what I could, and as I left her a message, one simple text: "I know everything. Don't bother lying anymore." I knew she was watching, listening, waiting to see what I'd do. But I was done playing her games. That night I sat alone, feeling emptier than I ever had before, wondering if I'd ever truly know her or if I'd been living with a stranger all along. The following days felt like a blur. I was stuck in a fog of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Every time I thought about what I'd uncovered, her lies, her betrayal, I'd get this sick feeling in my stomach. I kept replaying her smirk, her dismissiveness, how she'd lie so smoothly just to cover her ass. It was like I had been living with someone who was nothing more than a master manipulator, and I'd been too blind or too in love to see it. Now everything was crashing down around me. I kept wondering what to do next. Part of me wanted to tear her apart, confront her again, scream at her until she broke down and admitted everything. But another part knew that wouldn't help. She was a bitchy, manipulative woman. She'd probably just lie her way out of it again, spin some story to save her own skin. I also knew I couldn't keep pretending I hadn't seen all this, that I hadn't figured out the truth. Then came the message from Mark again. It was more threatening this time. "You're making a mistake, man. Jessica's not the person you think she is. Leave her alone before she destroys you." That's when I realized that this wasn't just a betrayal of trust. It was a threat against my reputation, my sanity. Mark was threatening me to stay quiet, to keep my mouth shut, or else. I knew I couldn't let that happen. I had to act, had to do something to protect myself. So I decided to dig deeper. I started talking to some people at her office, coworkers, friends, anyone who might have insight. It was uncomfortable, but I had to know if others suspected anything, if I was just paranoid. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Several people knew about Mark and Jessica. Some had seen them together, some had heard rumors. Jessica had a reputation for being bitchy and manipulative, and Mark, well, he was known as a smooth-talking guy who didn't play by the rules. One coworker told me that Jessica was always boasting about Mark, how he was so handsome and so successful, that she'd flirt with him openly, even in front of others, like she was proud of it. I couldn't believe the woman I loved was capable of this. It felt like a punch in the stomach. I started to see that this wasn't just some fling. It was a pattern, something she'd been hiding from me for a long time. And then I remembered something else. Her phone. I'd kept it after our fight, and I finally went through it more thoroughly. I found dozens of texts, pictures, and even voicemails from Mark, things she had never shown me. Some messages were flirty, others explicit. She was clearly invested in this affair, and she was lying right to my face every time she said it was nothing. The more I looked, the more I realized how deep her deception went. I started to see that her bitchy attitude was part of her game. She was good at masking her true motives, at making me doubt myself, at playing victim when she was the one who'd been cheating. I felt sick knowing I had been played for a fool. All those nights I thought she was working late or stressed. She was out sleeping with her boss, Mark. The thought of her betraying me that way, especially just before our wedding, made me question everything I thought we had. To make things worse, I found out she'd already told some people that I was crazy and jealous, trying to spin the story so that I looked like the one at fault. That was her go-to move. Blame me, make me look unstable so she could keep her image intact. The more I learned, the clearer it became that she was a bitchy, manipulative woman who would do anything to cover her tracks. And Mark, he was just as bad, if not worse, for encouraging her for lying and cheating just like she did. I knew I had to do something, something decisive. I couldn't keep living in this nightmare. I started planning how to confront her again, how to gather more evidence, how to protect myself. I also realized I had to decide whether to stay or leave. But one thing was for sure. I would no longer be the fool. I would take control of this mess, even if it meant burning everything down first. Because at the end of the day, I deserved better than this bitchy, lying wife and her cheating boss. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became that I couldn't stay passive anymore. Jessica was a bitchy, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything, lying, cheating, spinning her stories. I'd been naive for a long time, but now I saw her for what she truly was. I realized I needed to act fast before she finished destroying what little trust was left between us, if there was anything left at all. I decided to hire a private investigator. I wanted proof, clear evidence of her affair, proof that I could use to either confront her definitively or take legal action if needed. I didn't want to play her game anymore, not after everything she'd done. I wanted to catch her red-handed, to see her with my own eyes. So I reached out to a guy I found online, discreet, professional, and experienced. We set up covert surveillance, and I waited anxiously, every day feeling like I was walking on a razor's edge. While waiting for the results, I started preparing myself emotionally. I knew whatever I uncovered, it wouldn't be easy. Jessica wasn't the type to just admit her mistakes. She'd fight, lie, and manipulate her way out of it. I also started talking to some friends, people I could trust, to get a second opinion. Some told me I should just cut my losses, move on, and forget about her. Others said I should fight for myself, for my dignity. I didn't know what to think anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with this. Finally, after a week of waiting, I got the evidence I needed. The Pi had caught Jessica sneaking out of a hotel at night with Mark, both of them clearly drunk, stumbling into a cab. I saw pictures of her in a hotel room, her hair disheveled, her makeup smudged, but most chilling of all, her laughing, touching him, and acting like she didn't care who saw it. I felt a shock run through me. This was real. She was really sleeping with her boss right before our wedding. All those nights I wondered, doubted myself, and she was out there, justifying it as nothing. That moment, I knew I had to make a decision. I could confront her again, armed with proof, or I could cut everything loose and walk away. I chose the latter. I couldn't stay with a woman who lied so effortlessly, who betrayed me in the worst way. I called her that same night, told her I knew everything. Her voice was calm, almost amused. She tried to deny it again, but I didn't let her. I laid out the evidence, told her I was done, that I was leaving her. Her reaction was everything I expected. Defensive, bitchy, trying to turn it around on me. She accused me of invading her privacy, of being paranoid, of ruining her career. She called me insecure, jealous, a fool for not trusting her, but I didn't care. I told her she could lie all she wanted, that I had enough. I ended that call and packed my things the next morning. I didn't want to see her face again. I knew I'd be better off without her manipulative games. As I left her apartment for good, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I finally knew the truth, that I could finally start healing. Anger at how she'd lied, cheated, and tried to manipulate me. I realized I'd wasted so much time trusting her, believing she was different. But now I saw her true face: bitchy, selfish, and completely unworthy of my love. I knew I'd never forget what she did, but I also knew I had to move on, rebuild my life, and somehow find a way to forgive myself for staying so long in that toxic situation. Looking back, this whole experience has taught me something crucial. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who can hurt you the most. I learned that women like Jessica don't change, don't get better. They just get better at hiding their lies until it's too late, and now I'm left with the question: was I ever truly in love with her, or just in love with the idea of having a perfect life? Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm finally free. Since leaving her, I've done a lot of thinking, more than I ever expected to do about someone I once thought was the love of my life. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. At first, there was pure rage, angry at her, at Mark, at myself for not seeing it sooner. I felt like an idiot for trusting her so blindly, for blind loyalty that turned out to be her greatest weapon. Then came the sadness, real heartbreak, because despite everything, part of me still wanted to believe she was the woman I fell for, the woman I planned to marry. But deep down, I knew that was just the illusion I had held onto. The truth was, I had never really known her at all. This entire experience has left me with a mix of lessons and scars. I've learned that betrayal cuts deeper than you can imagine, and sometimes the people you love the most are capable of the worst lies. I've also learned that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to fully repair. And most importantly, I've realized that I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty, someone who isn't a bitchy, manipulative cheat. I've started rebuilding my life from scratch. I've found new hobbies, started focusing on my career again, and even reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in ages. It's painful, sure, but I also feel a strange sense of liberation. Like I finally took control back from a woman who thought she could manipulate her way out of everything. I don't regret confronting her, even if it was painful. It forced me to see the real Jessica, the one who lied, cheated, and played games. And it made me realize that I'm better off without her. To anyone out there who might be in a similar situation, let me say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. When something feels off, it probably is. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone is lying or cheating, don't wait for the crash to happen. Act. Protect yourself. Your happiness and sanity are worth more than any relationship built on lies. As for Jessica, I hope she gets whatever she deserves, whether that's regret, karma, or whatever comes next. I know I won't look back anymore. I will always carry the scars of this betrayal, but I refuse to let it define me. I'm moving forward, stronger than I thought I could be after all this. In the end, I've learned that real strength isn't about never falling. It's about picking yourself up after you do. And I'm finally doing that now.